So I'll hand over to the one and only James Stewart, GB 24-hour runner and senior Pyllon coach, and we'll talk more about adaptability and courage at a time when we need it more than we've ever done. So here is episode 3 of the Pyllon Ultra Pod.
Thank you, Paul. And that introduction was so good. So good. It's almost like you've done it before. Which you have.
Reckon, James? Yeah, I'm delighted to be here for the second time.
For the second time. So for anyone listening, my advice to you is don't try and use an old laptop with a new microphone and expect it to work first time, because you may well lose a recording of a podcast you recorded. But Paul has been very good about it as we re-record this podcast, which will be completely different from the one we did yesterday.
The lesson could also be maybe check your audio halfway through to see if it's still recording. Potentially.
I mean, well, there's all sorts of lessons in there, isn't there?
I would like to say, because I'm sure I'll make a mistake soon.
But it's good to know the strength of our friendship as we're still speaking. So anyway, adaptability, it's what it's all about. And this week, Paul, we are going to be talking about you and your journey to becoming, well, the athlete you are, but also the person you are and the coach you are. So there's a whole gamut of things that we'll explore around that, which I'm really excited to get into. And I've got a couple of questions on that. But before we get into it, what have you been up to since we last spoke in the pod?
Last week was a busy week, James. We had episode 2 came out, obviously. So there's a bit of work involved in getting that out. And then I had a last minute request from a sponsor to take over their Instagram stories for the day. So I didn't have a huge amount of prep time. And I like to do things as best I can, James, and not the same as everybody else who's done it before. So there was a lot of me seat of the pants creativity going on, if you saw any of that.
You know, I did, and there was actually one particular highlight for me, and I like to get a musical reference in, was
always.
When you well, it won't be the last one in this pod, I'm sure, but it was actually when you did the video of the shoes going up and down the stairs and out the kitchen and stuff. It really reminded me of the White Stripes song, The Hardest Button to Button, which is a brilliant video. So I actually really enjoyed watching your Instagram takeover. It was really good.
So based on that, if the White Stripes call, I could be in line for a video commission.
Well, Meg and Jack aren't working together anymore, so you could be the new Meg or new Jack, whatever you prefer.
James, I could be the glue that brings them back together.
Oh, well, there you go. Let's get them on the phone after this, though.
Are you following? It's time to go for a run. Let's go, shoes. Come on, socks. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Back to serious matters, adaptability in life and in ultra running and in, well, just in general. And we're going to talk about your story. So we're going to spin back half a dozen years to 2014. So you'd already won a number of races. You'd won the West Highland Way twice, and it was the second one in a 3-year spell where you broke the course record each time. And that was obviously you starting a journey of becoming quite a successful runner. But at the same time, you were just about to launch into the career of being a coach under the Pyllon coaching setup. What was happening in your professional life in 2014 that, well, drove you towards this leap?
2014 was a big year for me, and it feels like it was the moment something changed, but it was really before that. I'm not sure exactly when or exactly what that trigger was, but something in me changed at that point. So it feels like maybe around, 2010 or something. I had this thing where I just felt like I woke up, and I know that sounds very dramatic and I had this awakening or something, but I had been very comfortable before that. I'd been settling and on a work side of things. I was in a role that I was comfortable doing and I was good at my job, and I didn't really have people around me that were really pushing me for ideas or to do things differently, or I just didn't have the space or opportunity to do that because of the type of company I was in. So I had settled, I was comfortable. And I felt like, looking back now, it felt like I'd actually stopped learning, which is not a good place to be. I've always been quite a passionate person, so if there's something that really sets me on fire, I really go for it. I don't know what I was doing at that time when I look back for a number of years, and I wouldn't like to say that I wasted those years, but I can't see where my passion was in those years, and what I was really doing to better myself or to live the life that I really wanted. And it was maybe around 2011, I think it was. I saw a job advertised that I really wanted. And I put a lot of work into doing that. And it wasn't a straightforward application process. And I'd been in a previous role for quite a number of years, so it was comfortable, and there were good conditions there. And I was fortunate enough that I could work 5 days over 4, so I had a Friday off every week, and I could do a long run on a Friday, and it freed up my weekend a little bit. But I saw this job, and it just sparked something in me that I really wanted to be part of it. So I put a huge amount of effort into that, the recruitment process, and they basically put out a brief. It was like a creative brief to respond to. So it was a series of creative presentations, and then meeting directors and all that kind of thing, which you'll be aware of, I'm sure. But I'd set my heart on getting that job, and I went out to get it, and I was lucky enough that I did get that job. And I was going to be looking after the digital media team for the Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games. I was still really passionate about my running. It's what really lit me up. But I wanted to do this job as well, so it was the only way I could do it was early morning runs, or I would run into work. I'd work all day, I'd finish maybe 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and then I'd run home again. And I did, I don't know, 2.5 years of that, just solidly, every time. I'd get some time off on a Saturday to go and run in the mountains, and that was enough for me to feel like I was still training enough. And it was enough for me to still get selected for GB and stuff as well, So in a lot of ways, you can be really productive that way. And I see that in you a lot, actually, James, because your time is limited. You kind of set that aside almost, and you won't miss your morning run because that's the only time you've got to do it. And then when you've actually got a bit more time, that's when you actually tend to waste a bit more time, I think.
And it's a real good point, that, because I can see that in athletes just now when they've got that time at home, they're maybe starting a bit later. And we talked about this about routine and stuff previously, but actually when you become time rich, you can lose that time really quickly. So you're right, structure and routine and all of that gave you a focus. So you were being really successful from a career point of view, but there was a limit to that. And then, because that job was inevitably going to end at some point in 2014, some point after the games. Sounds a massive job, quite high intensity.